Hey everybody, it's Yoli Chisholm, and it's my objective to change your perspective. It's Crushing Monday, and over the weekend I posted some resource links for those of you who might be thinking about making a job or career change. And on crushingcorporate.com, you can find a list of websites that you can use to help with your job search, resume sites that can help you spruce up your resume, as well as interview sites that can help you with tips to improve your performance during an interview. And what I thought I would do today in the video is just give you some of the things you should be thinking about before you head into the interview. Now remember, at Crushing Corporate, for corporate crushers, our attitude is that we are interviewing the company, not the other way around. So here are some things that you want to be thinking about before you go into the interview. First of all, you want to get the names of the people you will be meeting. In the tech space, it tends to be a number of people that you interview with. So you actually go through a round of interviews. Typically, it's the HR person that you might have a call with, and they bring you in for a round of interviews, and you might be meeting people from the team or cross teams that you would interact with in this particular role. When that happens, what you want to get from the HR person is the names of the people you will be meeting and the roles that they're in. Now, use your discretion depending on the personality of this hiring manager, whether they'll push back on you on that request or whether they're open to sharing the names of the people. But what you want to do is, if you do get the names, you want to look them up on LinkedIn. You want to understand what their background is, and you want to make some notes. There might be some personal connections that you have with them that you can use as an icebreaker in the interview. So look them up, but do not connect with them at this point. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to review the job description, obviously, and you want to understand the sector that your role is in. So if you are in the marketing field, and this is a role as a marketing manager for a big company, you want to understand, is this a B2B role? Is this a B2C role? So are you going to be marketing to consumers or marketing to businesses? And then you want to understand what sector they're in, what industry. Would this role be focused on a particular industry or a particular audience segment? So you want to understand that up front. And then what you want to do in terms of your research is you want to find out what are the top tech trends. So technology is affecting all industries. What are the top tech trends that companies are reacting to? And then what are the mega trends in that particular space? They might not be tech related, but there might be some specific trends related to that industry. You want to make sure you know what those are. Make some notes before you go into the meeting. Okay, and then the third thing, you want to know who their top 3 competitors are. Just pick 3. You want to understand who they're competing against. You want to go to those competitors' websites. You want to understand how they message and position their services. You want to know what would be relevant to the person who would be in this role with respect to how the competitors do their business. Okay, and then you want to visit the company's website. So you will, if you're interviewing at a particular company, make sure you go to the website. It sounds like a basic tip, but I interview tons of people, and I am shocked at how little they know about the specific, about our specific company or our specific sector. It's really not a good look. So make sure you go to the website, you understand how they position themselves and what's relevant to the person in this role. Okay, the other thing you want to do is for your own self. So remember, one of the things you're trying to figure out is, will this company work for me? Can I see myself working at this company? Will I fit into the company's culture? One of the best things you can do is go to this account's social media sites, okay, and see what customers are saying about them. The other thing is you want to visit their career site or their about site and read up on their management. you want to actually go to YouTube and look up their management, see their CEO do interviews, see if you're getting the vibe that their values really match what the CEO is all about, because companies, it's all about the leadership and the culture and tone that is set at the leadership level. You want to see who their managers are, look them up on YouTube, watch some interviews from them. You want to see what their customers are saying about them, read the complaints, see if there are any responses to the complaints. How savvy is the company when it comes to customer service? Are they responding in social media? Are those going to end up being your problems that you've got to deal with? You really got to understand, what do they say their mission is? What are their values? Are you actually seeing that reflected in their marketing and reflected in how they deal in customer service? Because once you get in there, that's going to be part of who you're going to be, a reflection of that company as well. You want to make sure that their values match with your values. All right. Okay, the fifth thing, now this is, I'm starting to see a lot more of these when I hire people, is people actually are creating presentations that sort of augment the resume. So I'm going to give you an example of sections you can have in your resume. So this could be a five-page presentation that you send ahead of time to the people that you're going to be interviewing with. And it's basically has you at a glance. So what are the personal details about you? It might be, a page that shows, what your interests are outside of your job, the fact that you're, are you a parent? Are you married? What are the personal details about you? So that first page is you at a glance. Business achievements is your second page. So what are some key accomplishments that you've had that you're proud of? It might be impact, a project that you led. It might be some key performance indicators that you want to highlight related to jobs you've had in the past. It might be companies that you've worked with that you want to give a shout out to. So this is key business achievements. And then the third page is, a page on your career path and journey. You might want to create a timeline that shows the evolution of you as a professional. And don't be afraid. You might just have 2 bullet points, like I just finished, I just got out of college and I graduated X, or I just did this training or this certification, or I just took some classes on XYZ, and the role that I've had was X, was this. If you're somebody who's been a professional for a number of years, this page could just show the evolution and the journey, the companies you've worked at, the roles you've had worked in, and the growth you've had. And then the fourth page you want to have is sort of, what are your key strengths? What are your core characteristics? What are those things that you want to make sure they understand they're getting, and what you're bringing to the table? Are you a great strategist? Are you analytical? Are you a growth hacker? The things that are probably relevant to your career and your space, keywords and key characteristics that organizations are looking for in your space. Okay, then you want to, the last page you want to have is sort of like, 90 days. What are the things how would you tackle this role in the first 90 days? And so you might want to break it up into, the first month, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet with all the key stakeholders in this organization. I'm going to dive deep to understand what, who the cross team folks are that I'm going to be working in this role. And then in 60 days, I'm going to develop a plan. And in 90 days, I'm going to be, running. And you want to give some details around that. There is a book, I believe it's called The First 90 Days, that you can use as a reference. So this is a 5-page presentation that's sent ahead of time if you have the email addresses, or you can send it to the HR person and they can forward it to, or you bring it to the interview and you make a few copies. And it's something that it is an easy way for you to control the conversation. Some hiring managers and some interviewers will have you take them through your presentation, and that allows you to control the conversation. Some will just ignore it, and that's fine, and they can use it as a reference or something that they can look through. Don't push the issue. It just shows diligence. That's what it shows. When somebody comes to me with that presentation, I rarely use it in the interview, but I definitely will go through it. And it just says to me, this person's just a little bit on top of their game, more so than the next guy. Okay. Obviously, you want to review your resume. You want to review timelines. You want to be able to tell the narrative. If their opening question is, tell me about you, tell me about your career journey. Okay, you want to be able to go through the narrative. Now, you don't want to just go sort of year by year. You want to tell the story, tell the evolution of how your career has evolved over time. What are the things that interest you? How do you make your choices about the companies you work for and the projects you work on? So you are going to use your storytelling skills in this aspect. So make sure you've reviewed your resume and you know dates and timelines, and you can rehearse describing your career journey. Okay. And then you want to prepare and practice those 5 questions. Just make it 5. So, most interviewers will end up asking you, so do you have any questions for me? Okay. Well, you want to make sure that you have some prepared questions so you're not struggling to think them up, and you're not going to give the really corny, well, actually, no, I think you've covered everything. No, that just tells me that you did not do any research and you haven't bothered to put any diligence into preparing any questions either about the role, about the culture of the company, about the company's future plans, about how you work with other people's, what their expectations are for the role, what does success look like for the role. I mean, you can come up with 5 questions that makes you look decent, and then even more diligent is if those questions are varied depending on who you know you're going to be interviewing with. That tells me something about that person. All right. Then you want to have practiced answers for the most common questions that you all get. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are the projects you can tell me about that you're particularly proud of? Tell me about in a situation where you failed. How did tell me about how you deal with conflict. What is your preferred management style? There's all these common questions. Look them up on the web, and you will, make sure that you are prepared if you have an interviewer who has these pad questions that they typically ask. Make sure you have an answer for them. Now, if you are in the tech field, like where you're an engineer or a programmer, there are practice tests. There are even sites that will tell you based on the company what questions you can expect from that particular company. There are fields where you will actually be expected to do a test. I remember doing an interview at a company that will not be named, where they made me do some calculations, from like business calculations. I'm a marketer, but I still had to understand how to do marketing ROI and calculate. So you're going to have some companies that will do that. It's pretty rare in my field, but just understand and do some research around what to expect from that particular company. And that's as simple as interviewing at company X. If you're going into interview at Intuit, then you should search for interviewing at Intuit. And sites like Quora, a great sites that can help you figure out, get some clues into what an interview experience is like there. Sites like Glassdoor have reviews where people who work at the company have actually reviewed the company. This is a great place to get a sense of. Now, what you should think of is at least 50% of them are just going to be whiners and complainers. You decide how you want to take that feedback, but there tends to be the same patterns, and just make sure that you take that with a grain of salt. So here's how I think about reviews. Per, for myself, I know that I will approach a job a particular way, and so even if the company is has certain issues, what I am most concerned about is the manager. That is the most important relationship. I want to make sure it's a manager that I will be able to respect, that I will be able to learn from, and who has a work style that will match my personality. So those are the things that you want to be looking for. That's really the core, really important thing. And then while you're going through the interview, I will do another post on what you want to be thinking about during the interview and what you want to be looking for during. But yeah, so to round out, you have about 8 different things that I've given you that you want to think about before you go into the interview. So do not wing it. This is not a time for you to be winging it. You want to go in prepared. What happens when you find somebody who is prepared as an interviewer? I can tell you, I overlook education. I don't care if you've got an MBA. There is, how you are able to articulate your experience and demonstrate that you are going to be able to do this job is really the most important thing. I also look for people who can speak to how they handled conflict, how they handle challenges, and who are able to demonstrate that they're proud and interested in what they do. They're interested in the industry. And so I also really look for people who have an entrepreneurial mindset. So I also always ask about what do you do outside of your career, what you're interested in, because that tells me about how you will fit in to the company and how you will work with the rest of the people on the team. So sorry, a lot that I gave you there, but for those of you who are in the job hunting mode, good luck, enjoy it. Just dive into it, treat it like your second job, and definitely the best time to look for a job is when you have a job because you have some leverage. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. You can hit me up at yoli@crushingcorporate.com. Have an awesome week.